Hello, my friends. We are told that not until the 1800s was there industry anywhere in the world, allegedly. Now, this population growth timeline chart popped up while I was looking into old cannons. Now, with all the ancient megalithic ruins that we find all over the world, the old world buildings, out of place artifacts that they find seemingly every day, how could this chart be correct? No one lived on the earth. Hardly anyone. And by the way, we're not overpopulated, just so everyone understands that the overpopulation thing is you believing that you live on such a small area that you would see that, yeah, you're overpopulated. Cities are overpopulated. The world is underpopulated. Now, if you take 90% of all of us out of here, there's no one here, okay? No one. That should throw up a red flag to you. Because, and here's the problem. When I looked into these cannon, I thought they were so beautiful, so magnificent and majestic, right? Whoever made these was just an artist. Of course, they had to be a pyrotechnician. They had to know something about physics and, so they wouldn't kill somebody. I mean, this is a bomb if you stick gunpowder in it and pack a 2,000-pound projectile in it. What if it doesn't what if it doesn't perform well? What if it's not made right? What if it has a defect in the metal, a weak spot, right? It would have been catastrophic, okay? To say the least, right? It would have been horrible, right? Now, I show this graph so that you can see that no one is here in the 1400s. And until the 1800s, there was no industry. That's what we're told. Before the 1800s, if you needed something, you made it. Okay? If you needed a wheel for a train, you made it. If you needed a knob, a pipe, a piece of metal, a piece of glass, it was handmade. Everything was handmade. So, in 1464, a man named Munar Ali is given credit to forging a bronze cannon made in two pieces that screws together in the foundry at Constantinople behind the fortification, the coastal fortification, in the Star Fort of Constantinople. Now, Constantinople, Istanbul, traded hands back and forth, back and forth. It has a lot to do with religion and all kinds of other mess. It's a really good story. You should go check that out if you don't know. But those of you who know, that's the first red flag. Now, this man forged, now get this, a 16,800 kilogram or 37,000 pound bronze cannon, complete with artistic designs, the breakdown barrel that screwed together. And it worked perfectly. We know that it worked perfectly because, well, they said they used it for 340 years. When it was made, it shot 24-inch stone balls that weighed 2,000 pounds, 1 ton, and they could shoot it 1.5 miles. They used it to break through heavy castle, doors and walls and fortifications. It was called a siege cannon. So the British Royal Navy end up with this one. There were a lot of them, each one just as magnificent as the other one, and a lot of similarities to them too. They all screwed together. But it's claimed in 1807 that the British Royal Navy used it to attack the coastal fortification of Constantinople. Isn't that a story? The cannon comes back to attack the very place in which it was created. They're so dramatic. So they put it on a ship. But here's the problem with that story. A wooden ship with just one of these on it, right? They claim they have, they had 2, 3, 4, 5, but just one. A 27-foot long, 37,000 pound, 16,800 kilogram cannon. How would you balance that to all my engineer friends? How would that work? That shot at this time in 1807, they upped it a little bit. It shot cannonball that were made of iron 2,265 pounds or 1,027 kilograms is how much that weighed. And they put several hundred pounds of powder behind it. But how would you load that at sea? How difficult would that be? Think about that. Is that even possible to do? But even if it was possible, right? It just seems like it would be so much recoil from that cannon shooting that 2,000-pound projectile. It would blow the cannon out of the back of the ship. It's preposterous to think that that thing went on there. And look how they have, some of the old paintings show it, and it's like being pulled by a bunch of ox and stuff. And then other ones where these big, they had to show somebody standing there who was like this big muscular guy there, right? Like he could pick up that 2,000-pound stone ball, him and another guy. Come on, y'all. All right. There's also proof that some of them blew up, right? Just, I don't know, defect in the metal, what have you. But not, I know. Now, most of them are around, but some of them, yeah, they did. Now, I think it was a found piece of tech from a time of giants that never used gunpowder as a propellant in the first place. These cannon remind me of the fireplaces. How nothing's right from the size of the fireplace, where it's located at, the pictures and everything around it that would completely melt if you lit a fire in it. Not to mention the fact that the fireplace is 4 to 6 to 10 times bigger than any other fireplace that you would ever even possibly see in any other building at the time. The story's all BS. But it's not true. Okay, the stories are not true about the fireplaces. They're not true about some of the OOP arts found, and they're not true of the old buildings, and it's not true of these cannon. And like the big doors, remember that with the little people entrances on them? Why would we accept the fact that they say, oh, well, that they did that so that they could, get the guys in that had their spears and so that the queen could ride on top of it. It's so many people try to blow all kinds of sunshine around to tell you what something did to explain away the fact that no, those doors are giant. That building was giant. The steps are giant. Everything was of gigantic proportion to us because we didn't make them. It was for a time of people that were much larger than us. Now, just as outrageous as those cannons are, I thought that the most telling of all would be what they call punt guns. A while back, I did a smaller video about these guns here, right? But when I checked out the old cannon, it just kind of led me down through there where someone obviously put that together, or the AI or whatever just decided to show me. But anyway, anyone can observe the story and use common sense. They are muzzle loaders, people, meaning that you pour the powder down in it, the first very beginning, what we would know of as gun in the world, right? Now they're just 4 to 6 times bigger than a normal gun. Now we see everyone posing with them, and I think the only reason for the existence of a lot of these older pictures of these showing people having them and posing with them, obviously they were kind of commonplace just after whatever happened, or a while, I don't know, because they can't be thousands of years old. Okay, so I allege found. Now, back then, it was harder to keep things hidden. See, the Smithsonian was just now kicking off their little hide and seek campaign in the 1800s, 1900s, right? But we're told this. They were made for the royal hunters so that they could kill more than one duck or goose at a time for the feasts. Yeah, they put up nets and funnel them in, and boom, right? Okay, to the unknown person or unknowing person, right, with no knowledge of this whatsoever, they would buy this, right? However, to a woodsman or a hunter, especially a duck hunter, this is utter nonsense, complete BS. This gun, with what they alleged it shot, how much powder, how far, look, they would turn the first 10 birds they shot into mincemeat. It'd just be hamburger meat. the rest of the birds would have so much shot in them, no one could eat them. It's crazy to think that this would even remotely be a good idea or that someone would even explain it this way. Would it kill 20 birds at a time with one shot? I bet it would. Could you eat 15 of them? Absolutely not. Ask anyone who hunts duck and they will tell you the same thing. Actually, we need a professional duck hunter to answer that question. What would happen if you shot a howitzer off at a flock of ducks when they landed? Oh, geez, they're stupid. And look, all the stocks have been cut off of them for some reason. Every one of them. I didn't see one of them that had a stock on it. Right now, a stock is made on a rifle to rest against your shoulder. Okay, so that you can stabilize the gun and for the recoil. And I guess they just made them wrong, so everybody just cut off the stocks, right? At a time when everything was handmade. But look at the triggers and the hammers; they're gigantic. That's not made very ergonomical if it's just made for a normal human being. I mean, why would you make it so gigantic? All you have to do is make the barrel bigger. You understand what I'm saying? But yet the gun is made like to scale, right? And just like the cannons, right? How do you load this? It's ridiculous. Like, how do you load a 2,000-pound stone ball, right, when you're on a ship? I don't know. But check out the rest of the cannon from the same time period, 15th century, 16th century. Now, most of them are made of brass and bronze. Like on the old gigantic ships, I noticed that the banding and copper and brass and bronze that were used on them, nothing iron, nothing metal. I say it's because it's non-magnetic. Think about it. There was no world police back then. And according to some of the old sailors, magnetic lodestones didn't really react too well if you had, 37,000 pounds or big bands of iron and metal all over the place, right? Yeah, they didn't like it too much. And some of these things seem to have shot things that were other than, balls in them. I think they were kind of some sort of a rail gun, if they were even a gun at all, okay? Because that makes no sense. But hey, let's go with it, right? I'll end with one more thing. These these huge ships, these helms, or the steering wheel, right? They're 6 or 8 foot round. The captains can't even see over them. I'm just saying, y'all, everything seems to be so big in scale, okay? With all of this, you see why I believe it's just lost and found. A story made up and passed down as truth, but by those who found it. That's all. But what did happen to these people of gigantic stature? I think something crazy happened because why'd they disappear? And why hide the fact that they were here and we all know? And I guess another question would be, when did this happen? When did they get wiped out? When was there a war with these giant people, or what disease took them out? Like, I don't get it, right? But we need answers. I know the one story, okay, the old one. But what about the modern, big people or giants? Some say that we lost the height in generations passing. But if it wasn't for the worldwide oppression of the facts and people, hiding it in mainstream, the Smithsonian and the other agencies ignoring and dismissing every single thing, destroying evidence, see, we would all know, right? We have Google, Wikipedia, other fact checkers, and they're bold-faced lying because we see with our own eyes. There was an ancient cataclysm. We know this, but they still deny that one too. But we all know it's fact. But there was one recent, like between 1500 and 1800. No one really knows exactly, but there's a lot of unanswered questions on what happened here. They say, oh, the city burnt down, but it doesn't look like it burnt down. Yes. And these are their own findings, and their own findings tells on them. It tells the story, right? Every day, something else. To those with eyes to see, that is. And, clowns can't stop being clowns, okay? Even when they're off, all right? Even when they're not working, they're still idiots. And, we can't get away from it. And it's sad we can't get away from it, but it's also hilarious. Some of the reasoning, or, I wonder who they pay and how much money they pay to someone to come up with this mess. I mean, I need a job. I mean, I have the most creative and imaginative mind you could ever think of. And you don't have to pay me a lot of money. I'll come up with some crazy story that's way more believable than this one, right? Just saying. Anyway, it's all fun and games, right? It's all good. Well, that's all for now. A few more proofs to add to the pile. I love you all. I'm Wild Dog, and I am out of here.